The gauge reads 0.94 meters above baseline and it's still climbing, not cresting, not surging, climbing. Steady, metronomic, like something turning a dial in a room you don't have access to. You've been staring at the readout for 4 minutes and the number has not behaved the way water behaves. It has not paused. It has not receded a centimeter to gather itself. The decimal ticks forward with the patience of something that doesn't know it's supposed to stop. Outside the monitoring window, the Pacific is wrong. Not violent wrong, not storm wrong, just wrong. The surface has a quality you don't have a word for. Flat in the wrong places. Too high against the intake pylons by almost a meter, and the sky above it is clear. You pull the last 6 hours of tide gauge logs. You pull the offshore pressure readings. You pull the buoy array data from the 3 nearest stations, 12 kilometers, 28 kilometers, 40 kilometers out. Then you sit very still because all 3 buoys are reading the same thing. Not approximately the same, identical. The rise is uniform across a 40-kilometer radius, which means it's not a wave. A wave has a source point. A wave has a gradient. This has neither. This is not a storm. You've been here before, not here, not this. But you've been the person sitting in front of a number that doesn't fit the model. You know what that feels like. That specific cold that starts in the chest and moves outward. Your hands are very still on the keyboard. You notice this. The radio crackles. Marcus, your supervisor, talking to the mainland emergency coordination line, his voice doing the thing it does when he's trying to sound calm for someone who needs him to be calm. He's telling them it's likely the tail of the low pressure system from yesterday. He's telling them the plant is elevated 6 meters above sea level, structurally sound, designed to withstand Category 3 conditions. He's telling them they'll shelter in place. You look at the gauge, 1.03 meters, still climbing. Here is what you know that Marcus doesn't know yet, that the mainland coordinator doesn't know, that the other 4 people in this building, spread across 3 floors, don't know. In the last 62 minutes, the water has risen exactly 1.02 meters. Not approximately, exactly. You ran the regression 3 times. The r squared is 0.9994, which in tidal data is not a correlation, it's a law. Something is adding water to this section of ocean at a rate of 1 meter per hour, doing it with a consistency no meteorological event in the observational record has ever produced, and it has been doing it for at least 62 minutes before you noticed. The plant sits 6 meters above mean sea level. You look at the clock. You do the division, 6 hours. The mainland is 40 kilometers away. The emergency boat in the lower dock is rated for 40 kilometers on a full tank. You know it has a full tank because you watched Beijing fill it on Tuesday, the kind of operational detail your brain holds onto without being asked. 4 seats, emergency regulation. You know this because you wrote the safety protocol document yourself, 18 months ago after the previous plant manager retired and someone had to. There are 6 people in this building. You sit with that number for a moment. You don't let yourself feel it yet. You let it be a number. The gauge reads 1.07. You get up and walk to the window. The water is coming up the eastern pylon. The one with the yellow measurement markings. The ones you have glanced at 10,000 times without seeing. You watch it for 90 seconds. 2 centimeters in 90 seconds. Steady. Patient. Like something that has decided. The rational part of your brain keeps trying to find the mechanism. You dismiss the options in order. Not storm surge. The pressure differential isn't there. Not seismic. You'd have seen the signature in the buoy data, a pulse rather than a gradient. Not fresh water injection at scale. The salinity sensors haven't moved. Not gravitational anomaly. You have nothing to hang that on except the data itself, and the data itself is the thing you can't explain. What's left after you have cut everything you can cut is the raw fact. Water is accumulating here at a mechanically precise rate and nothing in your professional vocabulary has a name for it. This is where the mind wants an off-ramp, wants to pull the sensor calibration logs, check whether the gauge was serviced last month. You know what that impulse is? It's not rigor. It's the brain protecting itself from a conclusion it can't afford. You pull the calibration logs anyway, Last serviced 11 days ago, all within spec. The gauge reads 1.11. You go back to the radio. Marcus is off the mainland line. He's talking to the crew, Dae-jung and Priya on the lower level, Yusuf on the equipment floor, Camille on the administrative level, telling them to move critical equipment above the 4-meter mark as a precaution. His voice has the specific quality of someone being responsible and expecting to be recognized for it later. You listen for a moment. You think about how to say what you need to say. You think about the way institutions process information that breaks the model, the friction of it, the way certainty gets treated as hysteria until the data is undeniable, and the window between undeniable and too late is already closing. You've watched this sequence before. Different context. Same shape. You say, Marcus. The rise is linear. He says, what? You say, look at the regression. It's not a surge pattern. It's not a wave train. It's a constant rate. It's been constant for at least an hour. A pause. You hear him pull up the data, the silence that means he's seeing what you're seeing. Then the silence that means he's looking for the explanation that lets him stay with the protocol he already gave the mainland. He says, we don't know that it continues at this rate. You say, we have no data suggesting it doesn't. He says, the mainland coordinator said. You say, the mainland coordinator thinks it's the low pressure system. It's not. Run the pressure gradient yourself. Another pause. You say, Marcus, 6 meters, 1 meter per hour, 6 hours. The rescue window they gave us, he says 8 hours out. That's what they said. You hear it in his voice. Not denial, calculation, the same one you ran. He's running it right now. You can tell by the quality of the silence. You say, the boat holds 4. He doesn't answer. You say, Marcus. He says quietly, I know. Priya has been standing in the doorway of the monitoring station for the last 45 seconds. You don't know how long she's been there. She has a mug in her hand. The one with the chipped handle, the one she brings from home that she told you she's had since her first job out of university, keeps meaning to replace and keeps not replacing because it holds exactly the right amount. She's looking at the tide gauge readout on the screen behind you. She says, how long have you been watching this? You say, about 20 minutes. She looks at the gauge, quiet for a moment. She says, how many seats in the boat? You don't answer. She says, I have this certification. I can pilot it. You say, I know. She says, so do you. So does Dae-jung. You say, I know. She doesn't say the next part. She doesn't have to. The two of you stand in the doorway while the number on the screen ticks forward, and outside the window, the water continues its slow, patient, mechanical climb up the yellow markings on the eastern pylon. Yusuf has a daughter. He showed you a photo last spring in the break room. She just learned to walk, 7 months old, taking 3 steps across a tile floor and looking at the camera like she wasn't sure it deserved the credit. He laughed at that, said she already had opinions, said it like it was the best thing he'd ever witnessed. Camille has been here 11 years, longer than anyone. She knows where every failsafe is, every manual override, every piece of equipment by its sound. She's taught you things about this building that aren't in any manual because she learned them before anyone thought to write them down. Dae-jung is 26. The gauge reads 1.34. Marcus calls the mainland again. You listen to him try to move the rescue timeline up. You listen to the coordinator explain about the other emergencies, the coastline, the available assets. You listen to them negotiate around a timeline that neither of them is doing the math on, or both of them are doing the math on and have already accepted. You don't know which is worse. You go down to the lower dock. You stand in front of the boat, white, rigid, inflatable, yellow safety stripe along the hull, 140 horsepower outboard, full tank. Dae-jung Tuesday, 4 life vests clipped to the bench seats, 4 seats, a radio, a compass, a GPS unit on the console, built to carry 4 people 40 kilometers across open water. The sea is calm. The bearing to the mainland is 287 degrees, 40 kilometers at 30 knots, less than an hour and a half. The water is at the bottom of the dock ladder. It shouldn't be at the bottom of the dock ladder. The dock sits 3 meters above mean sea level. The gauge reads 1.41. There was a meter and a half of clearance below the ladder's lowest rung when you started your shift. You watch the water touch the rung, then cover it, steady, without drama. Your hand is on the boat's bow line. There's a decision that exists in the world right now, and it is not a decision you want to be the person who makes. You've been standing here 4 minutes. The water has come up 3 centimeters against the dock piling. The mainland rescue window is 8 hours out. You have the math. The math doesn't change. Marcus is upstairs. He has the authority. He is on the radio. In 8 hours, the monitoring station will be 6 meters underwater. The morning after Priya started here, 3 years ago, she brought enough coffee for everyone without being asked. Didn't make a thing of it. Put it in the break room with a note listing the brand and where she'd gotten it in case anyone wanted to know. That was the thing she did. That's the detail you have. You think about the 4 seats. You think about the 6 people. You think about the version of yourself that goes back upstairs and tells Marcus the decision is his. That you'll follow protocol. Trust the institution. Wait. You can see that version clearly. You know what it costs. You know what it saves. You think about Yusuf's daughter on the tile floor, taking 3 steps, looking at the camera like it didn't deserve the credit. You take the bowline off the cleat. Your hands do this. You watch them do it. You go back upstairs. Not slowly, the way you take the stairs when there's work to do, because there is. You pull up the GPS, mark the bearing, go to the equipment locker, take out the 4 additional emergency vests, the ones not clipped to the bench seats, and carry them to the dock. Priya is already there. You don't know how she knew. She just is. You look at her. She says, "Who are we going back for?" Not, "Are we going back?" "Who are we going back for?" You say, "We tell all of them the real timeline. We bring 4 down here. We radio our position every 15 minutes and we give the mainland the names of who's staying and we make that their problem to solve in whatever time they have." She's looking at you. You say, "I can't make the list." She says, "Neither can I." You say, "So we don't. We tell them and we let them make it." This feels like logic. You hold on to it. Like the thing that keeps the decision from being entirely yours. Later, you won't be sure whether that was wisdom or just a story you needed in order to move your hands. You go back upstairs. You stand in the main corridor and you call out to all of them. Marcus from the radio room, Daejung from the lower equipment level, Yusuf from the east monitoring station, Camille from the administrative floor, and they come. And they stand there and you show them the gauge and you show them the regression and you say the number out loud. 4 seats, 40 kilometers. Rescue in 8 hours. Water at 6 meters in 5 hours and 40 minutes. Marcus looks at the data for a long time. He says, "The mainland, you say, has the same data we have now. I'm radioing our position the moment we push off. Whatever they can do, they will do." The silence in the corridor has weight to it. Camille says very quietly, "I'm not a good swimmer." Yusuf says nothing. They work it out. You don't watch all of it. You go down to the dock and you check the motor and the fuel gauge and the GPS and you set the bearing and you listen to the voices above you and you don't let yourself parse the words because the words are not yours to parse. Priya comes down first, then Daejung, then Marcus. He doesn't look at you. He takes the forward seat and looks at the water. Footsteps on the dock stairs. One more set. You cast off. The motor turns over on the first pull. You don't look back at the dock until you're 200 meters out. When you do, the building is still there, lit against the dark water, windows bright. The water is at the base of the first floor windows. You watch this for a moment. The GPS says 38.4 kilometers. The radio is already live. You've already given the coordinates. You've already said the names. You've already done everything you could do with the information you had. The building light reflects off the water in a long stripe, moving toward you across the surface, rising, steady, patient, 1 meter every hour, for no reason. Any instrument you know how to read can name. You face forward. The question that stays, that you'll still be holding when the dock lights go under, when the mainland appears on the horizon, when someone in an official capacity asks you to walk them through the sequence and you do, accurately, completely, is not whether you made the right call. The data supported it. The data was right. The question is what the data didn't contain, what it never contains. The 4-seat boat and the 6 people, and the fact that you were the one standing at the bow line. The fact that someone had to be. The fact that the person who stood there, who untied the line, who said the number out loud in the corridor, who faced forward, was made from the same materials as the person who existed before the gauge started climbing. You don't know if that person was made tonight. You don't know if they were already there. The water behind you keeps rising.